I am back as promised to talk about Ayashimon Chapter 1 after finally reading it. And I thought it'd be fun to break out a new chapter reviewing format to give Ayashimon Chapter 1 a proper rating. So this is how it's gonna work. I'm gonna give Ayashimon Chapter 1 a rating between 1 and 10 on a few different factors. I'm gonna be talking about the pacing, characters, entertainment value, story, and because this is a new series, I'm also gonna talk about originality. And then once I give all of those scores, I'm gonna add all those scores up and take the average, and that will be the overall chapter score. There's also going to be an audience scoring system which I'm going to take into account. If you want, you can comment down below what you thought the score out of 10 for this first chapter of Ayashimon is, and next week, a week from today, I'll take all of those scores into account, add them to the score I gave it, take the average of that, and on my community tab, I'll put the updated score with the audience's opinion in mind as well. Most of the scores will probably end up being fairly high, and that's because for things like pacing and entertainment value and story, you're not really going to notice if those are done well. You're going to notice those if they're really bad. So don't expect to see too many 1s, 2s, or 3s here. It's, it's good manga, it's good shit. We all like Jigokuraku. We know he's a seasoned veteran. So there's not really any bias here, it's just if it's good, it's good. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about the chapter. I'm genuinely pretty happy with how the characters turned out, even though we only really learned just a little bit about Maruo and Urara, but yeah, not bad. Maruo Kaido is the main character of Ayashimon, and I gotta admit, when I first saw his design, I was terribly worried he was gonna end up being a fairly generic shonen protagonist. And you know what? He did end up being a very, very generic shonen protagonist. And that's the joke. This dude is such an otaku that he literally trained his body like Saitama from One Punch Man just to be a manga protagonist. He even name drops Goku and Jotaro as his influences in the first chapter. He reminds me of Itadori from Jujutsu Kaisen mixed with like the power scaling of Saitama from One Punch Man. I mean, not quite as crazy as One Punch Man, but you know, the dude threw a fucking car, like, Yuji doesn't do that, but like the point is he's not supposed to be not generic, I guess. And I'm surprisingly fine with that. I won't even sugarcoat it, Mario's already the GOAT. As for Urara, she is already everything I could have ever asked for. Making the female lead a cute yokai girl Yakuza boss is like they literally asked me to design her myself. I'd hate to lead the video off with such a high score because I'm gonna seem fake, but I gotta give the characters a 9. There's not really too much to say about the pacing of Ayashimon Chapter 1 because it really is just a short introduction, but I can say I wish there was a little more of a hook. It was definitely a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but I feel like it just lacked a punch. A metaphorical punch, there was a shit ton of physical punching. That said, lacking a hook isn't necessarily that bad. I mean, it's just, the only thing that's gonna happen is that the first chapter is just not gonna be a 10 out of 10 for pacing. I'm gonna have to say that Ayashimon Chapter 1 gets a 7 out of 10 on pacing. It was really good and entertaining, but it just doesn't has me there yet. I'm not in love with it yet. A good example for a 10 out of 10 pacing for a first chapter would probably be Attack on Titan Chapter 1. It pretty much hooks you from the get-go with the Colossal Titan destroying Wall Mario within the first, like, 10 to 15 pages. I'd actually say that Hell's Paradise Jigokuraku had a bit of a better first chapter pacing-wise, but, like, that's not bad. 7 out of 10 is a good score. That's gonna be a solid 8 out of 10. Like I said before, the main character wanted to be Jotaro so bad that he trained his body to the point where he could beat the shit out of yokai, demon, Yakuza dudes. If I can say nothing else about Ayashimon so far, it's at the very least incredibly entertaining. I would have scored it a little higher, I just wish we could have learned a little bit more about the world of the Ayashimon. Maybe if there's a little more balance between the dialogue and the fighting. I feel like for a first chapter, it flew by too fast because there was a lot of sick, badass fight scenes. Then again, 8 out of 10 is a pretty damn good score. I'm already pretty much in love with the idea of a manga about yokai, but adding in Yakuza yokai only adds to that hype. I'm gonna have to go with another 8 out of 10 for the story. The only reason I didn't rate it higher is because of the same problem with the pacing. It lacked a metaphorical punch. I guess story and pacing kind of go hand in hand. Maybe I'll combine those two for future chapter reviews, I'm not sure yet. Think of this as a 7.5 for story and pacing together. I said I would add originality into the rating before because this is a new series, so let's talk about it. Now, by all means, Ayashimon isn't anything super special yet, and you could even say it draws too much from previous shonen manga series. But the fact that that's the joke makes it pretty original in that of itself. I already loved the concept before the first chapter dropped. I just wanted to see what the characters and story could add to that. And honestly, I am not one bit disappointed. This is gonna sound a little crazy because part of the point is to not be original, but I'm gonna have to give this a 9 out of 10 for originality. So when we take all of those points and put them together, we get an episode score of 8.2. What else can I say? Ayashimon Chapter 1 was a lot of fun, and I really can't wait to see where it goes from here. 8.2 might seem pretty low if you're on My Anime List, but this isn't, don't think of this as like a My Anime List scoring system where, you know, if you're a 9 or a 10, you're the GOAT, and if you're like 8 or below, you're dog shit. Think of this more as a more lenient Anthony Fantano style grading system. Remember to comment your own chapter score out of 10 down below so I can add that into the audience score and make the revised overall score next week on my community tab. Let's try to keep the numbers round if possible. If you're really split between two numbers, feel free, you can put a 0.5 or something. But I just don't want to go crazy with like the, I give it an 8.6253, because that's just going to make it super fucking difficult. I will unfortunately not be including any numbers below 1 or above 10, so if you really loved it or really hated it, just try to keep it at a 1 or a 10. I mean, it is what it is. And if you liked this video, please feel free to leave a like below and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm going to be definitely doing a lot more of these, not just for Ayashimon, but for a lot of other manga series. And any like and sub helps out a lot, and I really appreciate you for it. You can also follow me on social media, which I have links to down below. Come chat with me or send me memes. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.